former home of Queen frontman Freddie Mercury is for sale in London. Built in 1907, the Kensington property features a bar, a library, fully mirrored dressing room, and a Japanese-style garden.
When Freddie Mercury passed away, the world mourned a legend. But those closest to him soon discovered something inside his London home that left them completely stunned. This wasn't just another rock star secret or a forgotten keepsake. What they uncovered revealed a side of Freddie that even his closest friends never fully knew. Hidden behind closed doors, protected from the public eye, was a truth that reshaped the way they remembered him forever. Join us in this video as we step inside Freddie's home to uncover what shocked everyone who loved him most. Behind the green door, what was found in Freddie's London home. When Freddie Mercury passed away in 1991 inside his beloved Garden Lodge, the world mourned a legend. But what he left behind inside his Kensington home stunned even those who knew him best. Garden Lodge wasn't just a house. It was Freddie's soul pressed into brick, wood, glass, and color. For 3 decades, it stayed exactly as he left it, untouched, undisturbed, almost sacred. A time capsule sealed by love, memory, and Mary Austin's promise to protect the world he created. Freddie bought the Georgian-style home in 1980, right at the height of Queen's fame. He spent £500,000 turning it into the sanctuary he always dreamed of. Hidden behind the now iconic green door, Garden Lodge became a private universe where every contradiction that made Freddie who he was came alive. Ornate yet quiet, bold yet comforting. Victorian drama woven together with the gentle serenity of Japanese design. Mary Austin, Freddie's former fiancée and closest confidant, never forgot the first time they walked through that door. She said the house felt instantly peaceful, like it belonged to an artist long before Freddie moved in. But his energy, his spark, his flamboyance filled every corner. The mirrored dressing room was where the transformation happened. Freddie lacing up his white trainers, shaping that signature mustache, and becoming the unstoppable force that electrified stages around the world. Just past the entrance, saffron yellow walls glowed warmly, Freddie's favorite color. It wasn't chosen by accident. It radiated the same joyful brilliance he carried on stage. The 2-story drawing room, towering and dramatic, held his piano, the very one where Bohemian Rhapsody was born. Upstairs, past the mirrors and glamour, sat his bedroom, a quiet retreat where the showman could finally take off the spotlight and rest. For more than 30 years, Mary preserved everything exactly as Freddie left it. It was as if he might walk in at any moment, sit at the piano, and start writing again. And then, there were the gardens, Freddie's own Eden in the heart of Kensington. He oversaw every detail, crafting a Japanese-style landscape with blooming magnolias, flowing water features, and sculpted greenery that created an almost otherworldly calm. In a city where private gardens like that are nearly mythical, Freddie built a sanctuary where creativity felt effortless. His music room and the bar both overlooked this peaceful haven. Friends could almost always find him there, robe wrapped around his shoulders, drink in hand, staring out into the blossoms as lyrics floated through his mind. But Garden Lodge was more than a home. It became a vault of Freddie's life. When Mary eventually decided to part with the property, she first chose to honor his legacy by auctioning over 1,500 personal treasures, with proceeds going to AIDS charities. Among them was the unforgettable replica of St. Edward's crown and the velvet robe Freddie wore on Queen's 1986 Magic Tour. He had worn them with a playful grin, fully embracing his role as the self-crowned king of rock. Those images, arms stretched wide, crown sparkling, remain etched in music history. Fans got to see so much more. Handwritten lyrics from timeless songs, flamboyant stage outfits, and everyday items that had lived within Garden Lodge for decades. But nothing shocked people more than the green door itself, covered in layers of fan messages, love letters, and thank yous. Written by strangers who felt like Freddie had changed their lives, the door sold for a staggering £412,750, almost as much as the price Freddie paid for the entire home back in 1980. By the time Garden Lodge was listed in 2024, its value had risen to over £30 million. Mary said the house had been a joy to live in, a place full of laughter, music, and quiet moments she cherished. She hoped whoever stepped through that door next would feel what she and Freddie once felt, that Garden Lodge wasn't just a property. It was a sanctuary where love, creativity, and magic lived. Garden Lodge wasn't meant to fade away. Freddie built it with intention, passion, and the same theatrical grace that shaped his music. It was bold, it was tender, it was timeless. And just like Freddie himself, it continues to captivate anyone lucky enough to glimpse what lies behind that green door, proof that his magic didn't end on stage. It lived in every room, every object, every flower in the garden. And it still does. But how did Freddie Mercury's life come to a tragic end? Keep watching to find out. Freddie's final days. By 1987, Freddie Mercury's life changed forever. What began as a biopsy on a small mark on his hand led to the diagnosis he had quietly feared. He tested positive for HIV, a reality confirmed in a blog post by his longtime friend and devoted assistant, Peter Freestone. Over time, the disease progressed into AIDS, and by the early 1990s, Freddie's health began to decline rapidly. Yet, even in the face of such devastating news, he carried himself with the same dignity, mystery, and strength that defined him on stage. Freestone later revealed that Freddie had reached a breaking point. In early November of 1991, Freddie made the heartbreaking decision to stop the medications that had been slowing the progression of his illness. These substances had kept him alive for years, but they also came with a harsh truth. He no longer felt able to live any kind of normal life. What hurt him the most wasn't just the disease, it was the sense of being trapped. Freddie had flown back from Switzerland on Saturday, November 9, 1991. Freestone wrote in his memoir, Freddie Mercury, an intimate memoir by the man who knew him best. He had made up his mind that he was no longer going to take any of the substances that were keeping him alive. Freestone explained why. The press siege outside Garden Lodge had turned Freddie's sanctuary into a cage. Reporters camped permanently outside the gates, waiting for any glimpse of him. Friends couldn't visit without being ambushed. Freddie, who once lived so boldly, was suddenly cut off from the world. He chose to let nature take its course, rather than continue existing under constant scrutiny. On November 24, 1991, Freddie Mercury died of bronchial pneumonia resulting from AIDS. He was just 45. He passed away exactly where he wanted to be, at home in Garden Lodge, the place he had cherished since he bought it on the spot in 1980. The Neo-Georgian home, transformed through his vision and designer Robin Moore-Eaday's touch, had become the center of his world, especially in his final years. After stopping his medication, Freddie tried to maintain small rhythms of normal life inside the walls of his bedroom. He slept often. He watched television. He spent long, quiet hours with his beloved cats, who brought him comfort even when his strength faded. And on the days when he felt a spark of energy, he welcomed a few cherished visitors, family, close friends, and even Elton John. The day before his death, Freddie made his final public statement. After years of speculation and painful rumors, he confirmed that he had HIV/AIDS. He wanted to protect the people he loved, but he also wanted the truth known, on his terms. That evening, he spent time with his longtime partner, Jim Hutton. The two of them stayed up through the night, sharing quiet moments of warmth that needed no explanation. Freddie and I chatted away all night, Hutton wrote in his memoir, Mercury and Me. I don't remember what we withered to each other about. It was all happy, inconsequential stuff. We just lay on the bed, cuddling until he dozed off. According to Hutton, Freddie's last words came early the next morning, a simple request to use the bathroom. After that, his condition declined quickly. He drifted in and out of sleep, aware but unable to respond. Friends who were present later said he seemed to understand that the end was near. That night, Freddie Mercury slipped away. Hutton remembered the moment with haunting clarity. I can remember very clearly the expression on his face. He looked radiant. One minute, he was a boy with a gaunt, sad little face, and the next, he was a picture of ecstasy. Freddie's whole face went back to everything it had been before. He looked finally and totally at peace. Inside Garden Lodge, surrounded by love, memories, and the home he had poured his soul into, Freddie Mercury found his final moment of calm, a peace he had rarely been offered in life, but richly deserved in the end. How did the world react to the death of a legend? Let's find out. The world mourns Freddie Mercury. When Freddie Mercury passed on November 24, 1991, the world didn't know it yet. Inside Garden Lodge, his closest friends and loved ones were grieving a loss they had been quietly bracing for. Outside, however, journalists and photographers had been camped along Logan Place for weeks, waiting, watching, hoping for any update. The press didn't learn the truth until the early hours of November 25th, when the news finally broke. Almost instantly, Garden Lodge transformed from a private sanctuary into a place of public mourning. Fans from around the world flocked to the now iconic green door, leaving armfuls of flowers, handwritten notes, candles, and messages of love. The pavement outside the home disappeared under a sea of color, blooms, and tributes stretching as far as the eye could see. For many, the grief came with a kind of shock. Only 24 hours earlier, Freddie had released a statement announcing his AIDS diagnosis. His fans had barely absorbed that revelation when the devastating announcement of his death arrived. Even those who had known for years found the finality hard to grasp. Queen's guitarist Brian May later spoke about the surreal moment the news became real. The band had lived with the awareness of Freddie's illness for a long time, but part of them still clung to hope. "We were all wondering if it was an illusion and he was going to be cured," May told The Telegraph. "You can't really take these things in properly." Then we got the phone call. He remembered how strange the hours that followed felt. The band gathered together, talking quietly, sharing a drink, trying to make sense of the moment. But it wasn't until they turned on the television that the reality fully landed. "Strangely enough, that was when it seemed real for the first time," May said. "You thought, oh my God, he really has gone, and everybody knows now. It can't be taken back." By sunrise, the world was mourning, fans crying in the streets, radio stations switching to Queen marathons, and reporters broadcasting live from outside Garden Lodge. The private world Freddie fought so hard to protect was suddenly thrust into the center of global grief. And yet, even in the chaos, the tributes piling up outside his home spoke to something deeper. Freddie Mercury had touched millions, and now those millions were finding their own ways to say goodbye. But before his tragic demise, who was Freddie Mercury, and how did he come to be? Keep watching to find out. Before the legend, the making of Freddie Mercury. Long before the world knew him as Freddie Mercury, the electrifying frontman of Queen, he was Farrokh Bulsara, a shy but gifted boy born on September 5, 1946, in Stone Town, Zanzibar, then a British protectorate. His parents, Bomi and Jer Bulsara, were Parsis from Western India, part of a community that practiced Zoroastrianism. The Bulsara family traced their roots to the city of Bulsar, now called Valsad, in Gujarat. Freddie grew up with one younger sister, Kashmira, born in 1952. His father's job as a cashier for the British Colonial Office had brought the family to Zanzibar. But even as a child, Freddie's life stretched across continents. Born a British subject, he would later become a UK citizen after the family emigrated in 1969. And from the very beginning, there was something unique about him, even physically. Freddie was born with 4 extra incisors, something he believed helped create the remarkable vocal range the world would one day marvel at. Most of his childhood, however, unfolded in India. At just 7 years old, he began taking piano lessons while living with relatives. His natural musical talent showed quickly. In 1954, at 8 years old, he was sent to St. Peter's School, a British-style boarding school for boys, located in Panchgani, near Bombay. It was there that Freddie's passions and his identity began to take shape. He inherited his father's love of philately and collected stamps between the ages of 9 and 12, carefully preserving pieces from across the British Commonwealth. Today, that stamp album is one of the rare personal items of Freddie's on public display, housed at the Postal Museum in London. But music was where he truly came alive. At 12, he formed his first band, the Hectics, performing covers of Western rock and roll artists like Cliff Richard, Little Richard, and Elvis Presley. One of his former bandmates remembered that Freddie only listened to Western pop music. A friend recalled how Freddie had an uncanny ability to listen to the radio and replay what he heard on piano, a talent that hinted at the genius to come. It was also at St. Peter's that Farrokh Bulsara became Freddie. The name stuck, marking the beginning of a transformation that would eventually lead him to the biggest stages in the world. In February 1963, Freddie returned to Zanzibar to rejoin his parents, unaware that the next years would bring political upheaval, relocation, and ultimately a new life in England. But even then, the foundation had been set. The boy from Zanzibar, shaped by India, heritage, and music, was already on his way to becoming the legend the world would one day celebrate. So, how did Freddie go from being a small boy born in Zanzibar to a global icon and legend the world still remembers today? Stay tuned to find out. From refugee to rock star, Freddie's rise in England. By the spring of 1964, Freddie Mercury's life changed once again, but this time, the shift was sudden and terrifying. Violence from the Zanzibar Revolution forced the Bulsara family to flee for their lives. The uprising, aimed at the Sultan's Arab government, resulted in the deaths of thousands of Arabs and Indians. Freddie, barely a teenager, escaped with his parents and sister to England, leaving behind the place he had just returned to a year earlier. They settled first at 19 Hamilton Close in Feltham, Middlesex, a quiet town west of London. After a brief stay at Hamilton Road, they finally put down roots in a small house at 22 Gladstone Avenue. Here, in an ordinary London suburb, one of the world's greatest rock icons would take shape. Freddie first enrolled at Isleworth Polytechnic to study art, eventually moving on to Ealing Art College, where he graduated in 1969 with a diploma in graphic art and design. The skills he learned there followed him throughout his career, most famously in the creation of Queen's heraldic-style band logo. Long before he dominated stadiums, Freddie was the artist sketching ideas, colors, forms, and identities that would later define Queen visually. But before Queen, Freddie was still searching for where he belonged. After graduation, he bounced between different bands, all while selling second-hand Edwardian clothes and scarves at Kensington Market with the man who would become Queen's drummer, Roger Taylor. Roger remembered those days fondly. Back then, I didn't really know him as a singer. He was just my mate, my crazy mate. If there was fun to be had, Freddie and I were usually involved. Freddie also worked as a baggage handler at Heathrow Airport, a job his friends said he tackled with humility. They remembered him as a quiet, shy young man, someone who blended into the background, except when music was involved. In 1969, Freddie joined Ibex, a Liverpool-based band known for its heavy, Hendrix-inspired blues. He even lived for a short time above the Dovedale Towers pub near Penny Lane, a place filled with the spirit of Liverpool's music history. But when Ibex, later renamed Wreckage, failed to take off, Freddie moved on again. By early 1970, his next band, Sour Milk Sea, had also dissolved. Everything changed in April 1970. Freddie teamed up with guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor to become the lead singer of their band, Smile. A year later, bassist John Deacon joined, completing the lineup that would make rock history. Despite hesitation from both the band and their early management at Trident Studios, Freddie insisted on changing the band's name to Queen. "It's very regal, obviously, and it sounds splendid," he said. "It's a strong name, very universal and immediate." He added that he knew about the name's gay connotations, but embraced that as simply one layer of its meaning. Around the same time, he officially changed his surname from Bulsara to Mercury, a symbolic step into the identity he had been building for years. Shortly before Queen released their first album, Freddie created one of the most iconic images in rock history, the Queen crest. Designed with the precision of a trained artist, it incorporated the zodiac signs of all four members: 2 lions for Roger and John, a crab for Brian, and 2 fairies for Freddie. A crown sat inside the bold letter Q, while a massive phoenix spread its wings over everything. The entire image echoed the grandeur of the UK's royal coat of arms, dramatic, powerful, and unmistakably Freddie. From fleeing a revolution to designing a future for himself in London, Freddie Mercury's rise was far from ordinary. Every step, every sketch, every band, every reinvention brought him closer to becoming the vibrant force who would someday stand before millions, commanding the world with nothing more than his voice and a microphone. Who and what defined Freddie's personal life? Let's find out. love, secrets, and the people who shaped Freddie's life. A year before Queen was even born, Freddie Mercury met the woman who would become the anchor of his entire life, Mary Austin. The introduction came through Brian May in 1969. Mary was working at the fashionable Kensington boutique Biba, and Freddie, still finding his way in London's music scene, was instantly drawn to her warmth. They began a long-term relationship and soon moved in together in West Kensington. But as Queen's fame grew and Freddie began exploring parts of himself he had long kept hidden, their romantic relationship reached a turning point. By the mid-1970s, Freddie had started an affair with David Minns, an American record executive from Elektra Records. It was in December 1976 that Freddie finally told Mary the truth about his sexuality. Their romantic relationship ended that night, but their emotional bond did not. Freddie moved out of their shared flat and bought Mary her own home near his new address on Stafford Terrace in Kensington. What followed was a lifelong friendship unlike any other. Freddie often called Mary his soulmate. In a 1985 interview, he said, "All my lovers asked me why they couldn't replace Mary, but it's simply impossible. To me, she was my common-law wife. To me, it was a marriage. We believe in each other. That's enough for me." Mary remained at the center of his world, his confidant, his grounding force, and the person he trusted above all others. She was also the one who found Garden Lodge, the grand Georgian home that became Freddie's final sanctuary. Mary eventually married artist Piers Cameron, and Freddie became godfather to her eldest son, Richard. Their friendship endured until Freddie's final days and long after. But Mary wasn't Freddie's only great love. From 1979 to 1985, while living in Munich, he formed deep connections that shaped another chapter of his life. In Munich, he found the freedom to explore his without the constant glare of the British press. He became close to Austrian actress Barbara Valentin. She even appeared in the music video for It's a Hard Life. For a time, Freddie lived with Barbara and her daughter before getting a place of his own. During this period, he fell deeply in love with German restaurateur Winfried "Winnie" Kirchberger. Their relationship was intense, emotional, and meaningful. Freddie lived part-time in Winnie's apartment and even thanked him in the liner notes of his 1985 solo album Mr. Bad Guy, writing "for board and lodging." The silver wedding band he wore at the time was a gift from Winnie. Friends described Winnie as Freddie's great love in Germany. Then came the relationship that carried Freddie through the final 7 years of his life. Jim Hutton, the Irish-born hairdresser, became Freddie's partner, the person he trusted most, as his health began to fail. Freddie referred to Jim as his husband, and those close to him said their bond was built on comfort, honesty, and deep affection. Jim gave Freddie a gold wedding band in 1986, one Freddie wore until the day he died. He was cremated with it still on his finger. Jim, who tested HIV positive in 1990, took care of Freddie during his illness and remained by his bedside until his final breath. After Freddie's passing, Jim returned to the house they had built together in Ireland, carrying memories of the life they shared. Freddie Mercury's inner circle wasn't just made up of lovers and bandmates. It was filled with vibrant, larger-than-life personalities who shaped his world in ways the public rarely saw. One of the most important was radio DJ Kenny Everett. The two met in 1974 when Freddie appeared on Everett's Capital London Breakfast Show. And they clicked instantly. Both were flamboyant, outrageous, and adored by Britain. It was a friendship that sparked like electricity. In 1975, Freddie walked into Everett's home with an advance copy of a strange 6-minute single Queen had just finished, Bohemian Rhapsody. Everett doubted any radio station would play such an unconventional track until he actually heard it. After one listen, he reportedly shouted, "Forget it, it's going to be #1 for centuries." Capital Radio hadn't officially approved the song, but Everett couldn't resist. He hyped up the mysterious record on air, teased listeners about a track he wasn't allowed to play, then cheekily spun it anyway, sometimes 14 times in one weekend. The station's phone lines exploded with callers demanding to know when the song would be released. Many credit Everett with helping turn Bohemian Rhapsody into a cultural phenomenon. Beyond music, Everett became a mentor and advisor to Freddie during the 1970s. They confided in each other deeply, partying through London nightlife and exploring their identities and Though they were never romantically involved, their bond was intense, but fame and personal struggles took a toll. And by 1985, their friendship had fractured, made worse after Everett's ex-wife publicly outed him. Still, toward the end of their lives, both battling declining health, Freddie and Everett reconciled. Their connection had been too meaningful to leave unresolved. Freddie's friendships extended into Hollywood, too. After seeing the Rocky Horror Show and its film adaptation, he became close with actor Tim Curry. Their humor matched perfectly. Another frequent fixture at Garden Lodge was singer Peter Straker. The two met in 1975 and quickly became inseparable companions. Straker was often seen dining at Freddie's table, one of the select few who experienced Mercury's private, softer side. And then there was Elton John, perhaps the most touching friendship of all. In the final days of his life, weak and bedridden, Freddie still made arrangements for a Christmas gift for Elton, a watercolor painting by Henry Scott Tuke, Elton's favorite artist. Even at the edge of life, Freddie Mercury was thinking of others. That was the paradox of Freddie, a man the world saw as larger than life, extravagant and theatrical, yet privately thoughtful, loyal, and fiercely devoted to the people he loved. What legacy did Freddie Mercury leave behind? Keep watching to find out. The legacy of Freddie Mercury and Queen. Freddie Mercury is widely regarded as one of the greatest singers in rock history. Known for his flamboyant stage presence, theatrical performances, and an extraordinary 4-octave vocal range, he broke every mold of what a rock frontman could be. Mercury's bold style didn't just define him, it shaped the artistic direction of Queen, influencing their music, performances, and the visual spectacle for which the band became famous. Mercury's death in 1991 marked the end of an era, but it also solidified Queen's place in music history. In the United States, where Queen's popularity had been more modest during the 1980s, album sales surged dramatically in 1992, the year after his passing. Critics noted the impact of what they called the Dead Star phenomenon, while cultural moments like the inclusion of Bohemian Rhapsody in the film Wayne's World introduced a new generation to Mercury's genius. By 2004, Queen had sold 34.5 million albums in the US, roughly half of which came after Freddie's death. Globally, Queen's total record sales are estimated to be as high as 300 million. In their home country, Queen achieved legendary status. The band has spent more collective weeks on the UK album charts than any other act, including the Beatles. Their greatest hit remains the best-selling album in UK history. Two of Mercury's songs, We Are the Champions and Bohemian Rhapsody, have been voted the greatest songs of all time in major polls and were inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Bohemian Rhapsody in 2004 and We Are the Champions in 2009. In 2007, Bohemian Rhapsody's music video was voted the greatest of all time by readers of Q magazine. Queen's recognition extended far beyond sales and charts. The band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001, and all 4 members entered the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2003. In 2004, Queen was among the first inductees into the UK Music Hall of Fame. Freddie Mercury himself was posthumously awarded the Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music in 1992, just months after his death. Later honors included the Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding Song Collection in 2005 and the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2018. Freddie Mercury's influence cannot be overstated. His voice, charisma, and fearless creativity continue to inspire generations of musicians and fans alike. Though he left the world in 1991, his presence, like his music, is eternal. Queen's songs remain timeless anthems, and Mercury's spirit, daring and larger than life, continues to captivate audiences around the globe. So, what do you think about Freddie Mercury and the life he lived? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there!